Excited to be here. Sorry I'm keeping you from drinks and beers, and sorry for the clickbaity title. But yeah, I wanted to kind of come and talk about PLG, and really I built this talk for kind of as a primer for product managers. I found there's actually not that many talks specifically on PLG for product management. There's a lot on the growth side, a lot on the founder side. So this is kind of a primer. It's also just a way to talk about being product-led before you dive into product-led growth potentially. So yeah, use PLG to stop killing your product visions. Dive right into it. Quick agenda for today. I'm gonna kind of set up a bit of an imaginary scenario just for all of us to kind of align on how does a product come to be, obviously on the founder side, and then how do we get to a place where maybe we're not driving our product vision. Then we'll obviously talk about 5 different ways I think we can win our product vision back, and a little bit on kind of building your own internal PLG army before we go into kind of a summary and Q&A. If the talk is terrible, I'm happy to say that I do have prizes, so I'll try and woo you over that way. And we'll just have a little quiz or Q&A, and I'll throw out some prizes around, so that should be fun. Hi, I'm Partho. For those that don't know me, I'm a GM of social media marketing at Hootsuite, overseeing kind of our core product area alongside an awesome team of product managers. Prior to that, 2 companies some of you may know of, but talking about it specifically because of the PLG motions we had. One company called Banana Tag. We were a Fortune 1000 enterprise-focused company, but we did have a PLG play. And that PLG play kind of got us acquired because of the land and expand motion. So we'll talk about expansion a little bit today. Prior to that, Unbounce, I'm sure lots know about Unbounce, but for the first 8 to 9 years of Unbounce, there was no sales team. And PLG wasn't really a coined term back then either. So lots to kind of go through there. If you're not connected, I'd love to connect on LinkedIn/Product Partho. I talk about this stuff probably too much, so maybe you don't want to connect. So let's start right into it. Imagine, all of us here, maybe you yourself, you have some awesome idea. And you want to kind of pursue this idea. You think it's going to be kind of earth-shifting, like gravitating in whatever hypothetical category you're building. And so you decide, you know what? Yes, I'm going to quit. I'm going to go for this big thing. I'm going to become the founder of it. And you start building it out tirelessly, day by day. If you're doing this during the pandemic, your life might have looked like this, your kids around. And hopefully at one point, you're building this thing out and you get to that all-important moment of traction. Hopefully you get your first customer. You see that, okay, I'm starting to scale, more customers coming in the pipeline, excited. Now you realize I got to scale, get more devs, get more sales. You just got to go more and more and more. Maybe you raise a fundraise, right? Maybe in this climate, you just bootstrap it. But at one point, you realize, you know what? I kind of need to go and get one of these super women and supermen named PMs. And you love it. You're so excited as a founder. These people come in, they are just working with your customers, working with your sales team, driving growth. And at one point, you probably hit this moment, a very important moment in my opinion, where you have a whale at your door. They're interested in using you. As a founder, you're kind of like, okay, well, awesome. What are the things that they need? And they come back with a list of things, most of which probably weren't on your roadmap, probably weren't a part of the vision. But you want that logo, you want that credibility. It's really important. So what you do here, I think the moment this happens plagues almost all of us in this room, even if we don't know it, because of what you give up. And if in most cases what we see, that decision's made willy-nilly, right? You're a founder, you're just scaling, you're just growing, you're ramping up the revenue, and you get to this place and you do it. But what you really give up is that product vision. You give up a part of that, which means you give up your product strategy, you give up your product delivery, your backlog, and so on and so forth. And that problem really never disappears. You don't really clam it back until you get into the role of really maybe some product leadership coming in. And so that's a really important moment to distinguish, in my opinion. We're going to talk about how I think anyone here can kind of climb and get that back into their kind of fold, into the roadmap itself. But first, some elephants in the room. Number one, I'm not saying in this talk that you should not talk to customers. That's absolutely not what I'm saying here. Customers are the lifeline and essence of your product. And there's so many different quotes out there that I can show you. Seth Godin has a bunch, right? Don't find customers for your products, find products for your customers. The most common one that I'm sure all of us have seen, if I had asked my customers what they wanted, they would have told me a faster horse. Henry Ford said that. Really, all these things are trying to say, let's be product-led, right? Let's not be founder-led. Let's not be sales-led. How do we get to a place where we're truly product-led? And I think that's important because you have to be product-led before you really can drive true product-led growth, PLG. And these two things kind of get mixed in together. Like you can be a product-led company and not drive PLG. And that's still an awesome thing. But first of all, it turns out, I don't think Henry Ford even said this. It's one of those like fake quotes. I didn't know that, which is kind of crazy. Secondly, my whole topic, it sounded like obviously I was condoning enterprise sales or like saying don't. That's not true. I'm saying that that decision at that moment is usually made pretty hastily because you got to ramp revenue. You got to pay people their salaries. But I'm saying you got to be strategic about that decision. Understand how much of that is going to come from your budget, from your roadmap, and then be weary, very, very weary of building a feature factory. Who's working in a feature factory today? Can you raise your hands? Who's working in a feature factory? Only 2 or 3? Wow, that's awesome. I asked this question almost 9 months ago, I think last time I did this talk. It was like 90% were saying that. Not here, Vancouver product managers, awesome. So let's talk about 5 ways we'll win back our product vision. Number 1, understand your product vision. That seems kind of simple, right? But the truth is, it's a little embarrassing. Again, maybe Vancouver's going to prove me wrong. But many of us probably can't even recite our product vision. Raise of hands. Who can recite their product vision? Okay, that's good. That's more normal. 1, 2, 3. That's embarrassing, right? That's actually pretty normal, the kind of number of hands that I get on that. The truth is, if you don't have a vision, especially early days, guess who's going to take it? A single customer, not customers, not a market, a single customer, because they want you to focus on them. And if that decision was made really quickly, then they're going to want you to focus on whatever that single brand was or whatever that whale was. So it's really important because you're going to get a huge gap in your company and in your product vision. And that really is that your customer's perception of your product and its future is different from your founder's original vision and their goals, or exec team, or committee, whatever format your executive team is in. And that really is a product vision gap. So in terms of the product vision gap, of course, 1, it's important to consolidate, work with your stakeholders, work with your founders, figure out, where do you want to go? What did you want this product to be? Where should we take it? And then when you're scaling, make sure you have one product vision that everyone's working on. Even if you have multiple product lines, unless you're at like something like Microsoft and Amazon, in most cases, even if you have multiple product lines, one product vision is a really good thing. Everyone driving towards this. Now, of course, if you don't have a product vision that you can recite, put the work in. This stuff's important. It may be a short sentence that makes no sense, but if you saw the slide before, every decision that your team should be making, developers day-to-day, product managers day-to-day, designers day-to-day, it should roll up to that product vision. I'll give a quick kind of example in this. My last company, Banana Tag, it actually took me, it's a little embarrassing, 4 to 6 months to write 7 silly words, which was, we wanted to become the one-stop shop for all internal communication. 4 to 6 months. Probably shouldn't have got paid for that. But we did do, once we got there, and actually there was a lot of turmoil between 3 founders, myself and 1 other. We then made sure that we talked about it to death. All over the place, we talked about it. We over-communicated it every chance we got. And what was really cool about that is it helped. We actually got feedback that we were being very annoying about talking about it, like it was too much. I think we were okay with that feedback. But every decision in OKR we then came back with afterwards rolled up an umbrella to the product vision somehow. And our founders had a mantra, which was really cool. And I think if you ever get an exec that believes in this, it's an awesome thing. Don't build a single feature for 1 customer. That doesn't mean that you can't expedite something on your roadmap for a certain customer base, especially if a lot want them or the whole or makes sense for your business. Or better yet, if some customer wants something, they're willing to pay for it. Sure, why not, right? You have to make those decisions. But too many companies obviously are taking in single things just to land these deals, and you end up in a feature factory. We ended up being acquired a year later, really just because of that product vision. We put it in the market. We said where we're going. We were going after some of our competitors. Bigger competitors saw that. They felt it. clearly, and they bought us out. The docs kind of look like this, like every all hands, every town hall, we had some slides on this. So like, don't forget about this. Here's the Gartner research and the Forrester research of why we think it's important. It's just this stuff kind of matters and we don't really talk about it. I mean, only 3 people raised their hands when it came to the product vision. Number 2, focus on building a product that really truly sells and expands itself. You've probably seen, if you research product-led growth or PLG, a lot on kind of, build a product that sells itself, but we don't really talk about expanding and, upgrading and upselling from there on, which PLG and being product-led totally should do. So I'm going to start with some acronyms. I've gotten feedback in the past that I give too many acronyms, so I'm going to try and really lay it out. This is something that, especially if you're here and you're on my team or if you've worked with me, I love this too much probably, the LTV to CAC ratio, which is now very popular, very important. Everyone's looking at it, especially as companies going through layoffs and things like that, because it's a profitability measure. LTV to CAC ratio, LTV is lifetime value of your customer. CAC is customer acquisition cost, which is really most of your sales and marketing costs together. And if you don't know the model, it's basically most companies are looking for a 3-to-1 ratio. That's a really healthy business model. If you get to 4-to-1, that's awesome. Anything higher than that, you actually can grow faster with profitable. So that's really, something to think about. But if you're closer to 1-to-1, it means that each deal or each new customer coming in, sinking your company money, because it's not including operational costs, just CAC, just the acquisition costs. Now, the reason I say that here is we're all product leaders. You can use this metric. You can think about this and segment it in your data, in your analytics. You can look at personas by industry, by maybe ideal customer profiles, and look at where you should be investing or where you should be divesting. And also building alignment of where maybe you want to put more onboarding and self-serve help versus places where you want more high touch and human touch. And that really helps in terms of aligning where you need to go and what you need to do. And that kind of goes back to the whole product vision conversation, which is segment your roadmap, obviously, to work on features towards your vision, ensure that you're creating balance kind of day-to-day, requests that come in, maintenance that you have to do, tech debt, along with your vision pieces. And if you don't do that, you're never going to work on those things. That's just the blunt truth. There's going to be too many things coming at you from customers, from day-to-day, from tech debt. That's our lives. And then the bigger thing, obviously, try to focus on your market and your segment, not just one customer. I know I keep saying that over and over again. Now, you might be in a place where that is your play, and that's what your founder wants. That's good. That's a decision that's made. We want to serve single customers. We want to be more service-based. Nothing wrong with that. But I wouldn't try to put yourself in a product-led kind of PLG motion in that case. I don't know if that would work for it. But no one said that PLG is for every company and everybody. That's important to know. The next thing is really, ensuring that your value metrics really make sense. The best companies out there that are PLG, whether you look at things like Loom, Jira, Slack, their value metrics are super easy to understand. When you look at their pricing page, you're like, yep, I want to be on this plan. This one makes sense to me. I get how it scales. Usually something around either like product value, sophistication and maturity, or around usage and usage-based pricing, or around kind of more users and population expansion. The one thing I'll call out, because you read up on a lot of this stuff, especially on the pricing books and articles that are out there, they often say, don't mix the two. But screw that. If it works for your company and you're going to make a ton of money because of it, do it. Everything's not kind of a blanket statement for your own company. And once you do figure that out, create a monetization team on that fast. Find a way for that team to expand, continuously acquire, and upsell, hopefully even in the product, upselling it. Just let the customers do that on their own. I've done this a couple of times, actually 3 times in total, and every single time that we try to scale up a monetization team, the first thing that happens is they get bogged down in billing stuff, whether it's billing systems, subscription management. Separate those 2 things. You might then need 2 teams or 3 teams, whatever it may be, but this can bring a lot of money, like a lot. And it's important to create OKRs around it, usually around kind of expansion, average revenue per user or average revenue per account, and give that team that OKR and let them hit that goal. In fact, more you're starting to see some companies, especially in the Valley, they even go as have kind of using a sales model where you get a base and you get a sales comp based on this, which is kind of neat. The next thing, another acronym, PLS, which is product-led sales. This is becoming a lot more common actually in the last 18 months. It's becoming a lot more focused around product-led growth. Product-led growth does not mean anti-sales or alienating sales. In fact, you can kind of hyper growth and really arm your sales really well. Usually sales are looking for what they call product qualified leads. These are customers that are usually very similar to an MQL or a marketing qualified lead. They have intent, there's maybe some fit, but you put the product in first, get them to try the product and find out, hey, does this person match our ICP, our ideal customer profile? Does that customer maybe really, really use the crap out of your product? Maybe they're right for a cross sell. And you just find ways to find these very high intent leads to give to your sales team through the product. There's a lot of platforms now. There's two that I've called out here, Correlated and Pocus. But really, if you do this well, everyone wins. And just to showcase what this kind of looks like, how kind of powerful it can be, and this is a sneak peek, I don't even think my own team's seen some of the stuff we're doing, but you can actually showcase, okay, this person is totally in our ideal customer profile. They're using our product in such a way, they have the right tech stack. You can get really nitty gritty once they're in your product if you focus on that. And if you're a salesperson and this is like, what you're looking for, these are the highest intent leads they could be. And you can drive a lot of new friends because of it. So the third thing, another one that seems pretty simple, is get serious with data. Like we say we're data informed or data driven, but are we truly? The first thing I kind of ask is, how do we structure our data teams and data analysts or scientists in our teams? I'd love to ask, like here, how many folks here in product teams have an embedded analyst of some kind? That's not terrible. Look like about 10% maybe. Lots of room to grow. How many companies here have like a self-serve analytics tool, whether it's like Pendo or Mixpanel or Heap? Oh, it's actually less than I was expecting, but let's say 25%. Like, this is a really important part. I'll ask this last one. I expect only like 1 or 2 hands to come up. How many people have dedicated financial planning analysis partners? Not on the team, but just partners. Look at Timothy. Yeah, so like, less than 10%. This stuff, if we say we're data informed and data driven, how can we be when these are the answers and these are the numbers and we structure our teams in a way where they're so far away from us? That's really crazy. And it's really time for us to rethink how our team structures are made with data in mind and financial modeling in mind and growth in mind. And honestly, I think one of the big things, especially from a product management point of view, is like self-serve your own metrics around adoption, the easy stuff as I kind of call it, right? Whether it's retention matrices or and the LTV to CAC ratios, these kind of things you can do on your own. You need to bog down the analyst team that should be thinking about much bigger, complex problems. Speaking about over and complex problems, number 4 is really about investing in your hook or your activation metric. I don't really care what model you prescribe to. Maybe folks here have read the book Hooked by Nir Eyal, which kind of looks like this. You've got a trigger, an action, usually a reward and some kind of investment. You get them to do that loop over and over again. Or you use the Reforge Framework, the setup moment, aha moment, or habit moment. The setup moment is really, doing a set of key initial steps to get someone ready to see the value in your product. Aha being that light bulb moment when they do see it or feel it. And then habit, when they're really doing it a lot and a lot and a lot. And so, there's so many good articles and examples on this model. Slack's probably one of the most famous ones of how they do it. The big thing I'll call it is get obsessed with it. Get your analysts to be on it almost full time at times and really finding out more about that time to value and that activation moment, along with that light bulb moment of when your customers really click of like, I'm going to buy your product, or I'm going to give my credit card, or I'm going to keep my credit card on file. And again, overinvest in this area. If you're a product leader or an exec, that's really important. At Hootsuite, we use this the setup aha habit moment, and we dedicate a lot of time on it. In fact, we've changed it twice since I've been there because this stuff changes, especially as consumer behavior changes. our product mixture and kind of values change. And that's really a really core, important part to this puzzle. And obviously, it's a sequence. So trying to fix the habit moment before you fix your setup moment doesn't make any sense. Number 5, truly become product-led. And the big takeaway here, because I hear this a lot from folks, product-led is not product management-led. I'm sure a lot of us wish and want it to be, but that's just not the case. Product-led means you're really allowing your product to be the center of your company, which most tech companies is selling a product. And so your design, your marketing teams, your sales teams, your customer success teams, they all have to play a huge part into this. And so you have the best customer experience on the other side. And the truth is, product-led growth takes a village. The whole product is owned by not one department, but the whole company. And that means you have to let them in. And that kind of goes to this whole point of like, we got to build our product-led army in our companies and figure that out. And to do so, often PLG starts from growth marketing, the founder, or product growth. Sometimes they'll start in product, that's true as well. But wherever it starts, when you get going on the product side, it can be lonely, it can be hard. You have to get involved in a lot of different areas, and areas often you don't want to be, like, especially on the other side, your stakeholders don't want you there at all. I remember the first time really approaching our head of sales, like not interested. It actually took me probably 9 months to crack him. But he's totally bought in. When he saw what I showed you before, he's like, give me that all day. And now we're just trying to execute and get there. So it can be lonely, and you have to surround yourself with all kinds of these different individuals. You need to show them why it's valuable to them, both marketing, sales, other product people. And so if you're a leader or an exec, the big thing I'll call out, what I've seen work, what's going to work for me and what didn't before, the things that worked, over-communicate. Even though we got feedback that I was over-communicating the vision about product-led growth, I see all over the place, even on Slack sometimes, that I'm talking about too much. It's important. Over-communicating, I don't think, is a bad thing. Hire change agents, right? Sounds easy. Hire people that want to be your change agent, that want to be optimists. Probably the best thing you can do. And let them run, let them fly when they come in. And obviously, hopefully, hiring lots of growth-minded product managers. Surround yourself with people that are multipliers. I know these are like basic principles, maybe from like some HR textbook, but the truth is you need people that have a backbone, because there's so much resistance when you put this stuff in place, but it can transform your company. And then lastly, product managers, and if you're an individual contributor, there's a lot that you can be doing as well to help, right? Get comfortable with refuting things with data, with finances and financial modeling. Build your growth mindset, learn how to experiment on the fly. These are things that can be part of our repertoire day to day. And drive change, right? I will say this, long gone is the time, in my opinion, where your manager comes and says, bring me solutions, not problems. Like, bring problems to your leader and work it out together. And that leader might tell you, you got to go figure it out, but at least they'll give you some direction. Like, he or she should definitely help you with that in this day and age, in my opinion. So a big thing, again, not being product management led, but product led, it does mean that we kind of have to give away and let go of our egos a little bit. A lot of us come into this role knowing that we're going to be the CEO of the product. It's kind of absolute bullshit, because the CEO of the product is the CEO. And to really, really move forward and fast with your product vision, collaborate with your customer leaders and sales leaders, right? If you can get them to think as a product manager would, and not give solutions, but ask customers how you can really solve their problems together, and then they're correlating, oh wow, we've got a lot of different actually things that are correlating to this one theme, and they come and help you with that, instead of just giving one-off solutions and fixing one thing bit by bit, or asking you as a product manager for this one thing, and you have to, hoard in about 100 different requests every quarter. If customer teams can speak like product teams, your product vision is going to come to fruition a lot faster. So a quick summary, 5 ways to win back your product vision. Number 1, if you can't and don't have a product vision, create one, or at least understand the one that you have there. Ask questions if it doesn't make sense. That can lead to some really interesting conversations, mostly around strategy. Number 2, focus on building a product that really does sell itself. This can take a long time. It can take 2 years to get to a place where you really have a product that doesn't rely on, human intervention in back-end systems. And number 3, get serious with data. Don't just say that we're data informed, actually get there, actually organize around that. And then number 4, overinvest in your product's hook in that activation moment. And hopefully, then become truly product-led and not product management-led. Pulled a lot of things. This is still one of my favorite books. I reread it about 4 months ago, Product-Led Organization. It's great for any company, even if you're not driving product-led growth. Again, product-led and being product-led is different from driving product-led growth. But usually one has to be there for the other. So Todd Olson, he's the founder of Pendo. He talks about this. It's an awesome book. And then Reforge has a lot of this content, like a ton of it. So Q&A time. And basically, I have some prizes here that I've just acquired through different conferences and things like that. So anyone that asks a question, I'll give a prize. And if no one asks a question, I'll have some quiz questions. You won the money one, Mr. Danny DeVito. Where are we? I think we're right here. There you go. $1 bills. Do we have a mic? Or you can ask them a... I actually do see a bit of a difference. So the question is really, what's the difference between product-led and customer-led? There's a lot of kind of analogous kind of synergies or conversations that happen there. I'll start by saying, I think I hear marketing-led a lot, and I think product and marketing-led are very similar, if not the same thing. I think the big separations that you hear are founder-led, right? Very hippo style, but some hippo style businesses do really well, right? Then there's sales led, and then product led. For customer led, I do think it's separate and a bit specific. I'm not saying that product led obviously isn't customer centric, but customer led often means that you are going to source all those one-off things, and that's the model that you're building. And I actually akin that a little bit more controversially. And I don't have the right or wrong answers here. My opinion on it is that that's better for service-based companies, and that there is a place for it. But if your founder is looking for a 5 to 10x multiple on their company, it ain't going to be that.
That's the thing. That's exactly why I asked for this slide. So, like, what kind of actions could be taken when the team really gets like bogged down in some kind of technical debts and everything, and the company is not moving forward? I'm sure that everybody would be there, like in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can pull from my experience at Hootsuite. I'm sure some of the team members are here that could probably correlate to that too. You have to resolve some of that. Like if it's blocking your growth pattern, and for example, actually, a great example was, not to give it too much away, but we had lots of billing tech debt, a ton, and we resolved quite a bit of it. We had to storm around it. The whole product department had to storm around it to make things happen. And now we have a team that can really just drive monetization changes, experiments. They do a dozen of them every quarter. So you have to take the time. Sometimes it's a hard bite to really bullet to bite. The other thing I'd call out is that you should then set that expectation of what that goal is going to be in the end. Right? You're going to get a big payoff in the end. Sometimes the hardest part is obviously attributing revenue dollars to tech debt. But this one's easy because it's like, okay, well, removing this is going to allow us to do all these different things on the pricing front, on the packaging front, on expansion, and away you go. Oh, sorry, was it Paul first? Or?
That's awesome. I don't know how that happened. I see you, Paul. I'm wondering if you could comment on any experience or opinions you have around trying to champion product-led growth in an organization where That's not what's happening right now. And I'm just thinking about the whole head count and how you sort of manage decisions around that as you're trying to transition.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the hardest part of some of this, and you have to bring in, the first thing I'll call out is that if it doesn't start from the top, you're kind of screwed. And it is then, and I'm not saying they can't be done bottoms up, but often the bottoms up approach has to go to the top to get them to buy in. And if they don't buy in, then that's a big problem. And I don't know if that's a fight that's worth fighting for if you're top and folks. And sometimes I'm not saying that you shouldn't coach them to that and show them that like, hey, it's worth it, and give them the modeling of why it's worth it. But even after doing that analysis, you really feel you've done your job, as any PM should, then you might have to move on. Now, in regards to like the entire organization, there's a lot of different structures that I've seen. A good company that I like looking at called Vimeo. They're the video kind of sharing software. They're a public company, so you can see a lot of their data of how they run their business, and they separate intentionally the sales-led side versus the product-led side. We kind of done that a little bit at Hootsuite as well. A lot of companies do that. So there's a lot of different models. There are companies like Slack and Jira that vehemently don't do that. They say, no, we're not separating. It has to be product-led first. I mean, most people don't think that Jira is a product-led company, but they're one of the best out there, even though they have a ton of salespeople that they don't do much outbound sales. They're mostly all inbound sales and really effective.
I think you already partially addressed it, but it's like once you have your product-led product that's doing its magical stuff, let's say you don't have this monetization team to start with. How would you build one, and how does it differ than just like a sales team?
Yeah, I mean, the monetization team is meant to be driving in product expansion. Again, acronyms. There's another acronym called product-driven revenue, but that's basically, if you own product, a P&L and a profit loss statement as a product leader, you may have a product-driven revenue number. And that's often where this monetization number comes in. But that's a pretty new word. If your product leader and CPO or someone owns a P&L, they often can just say, okay, this is how we drive revenue through the product, and it goes to my P&L itself. And I have that number at Hootsuite, for example. And so that's something that we have to drive. It's different from sales because in product-led, your product should be able to sell most of itself. And then you have to find the right fit, like that product qualified lead that needs the high touch and who's right for the high touch, and that it makes sense to operationally, profitability, all those kind of things. So it's definitely very different from it being sales. It's going to be, this is a product team or two. If you're at Slack, I know they have I want to say 10, 11 monetization teams focused on different parts of their journey. They have an expansion team. They got a team to get you into getting more users in. They've got all kinds of teams focusing on those different monetization value metrics.
How does that work? So just a quick example is we are into daily fantasy sports, we are into casino, we are into land-based retail, casinos, etc. How does product-led growth work at something like that where there's disparate products?
Yeah, I think again the best thing is to figure out and segment where you should start, if you should start. And I would start with one product before you go into multiple products and product lines. That's really important in my opinion. Yeah, so you don't want to boil the ocean, right? So if you feel that this is the right motion for you, really the separation of being be product led, right? And make sure that you're building that notion that we should be serving the market and thinking about the whole and not building feature factories. And then if you're thinking about product led growth, start with one product, see, if you have to truly make it a product that can sell itself, you have work to do there, and then see what happens and experiment. Don't put all your chips into that one spot. You have to experiment your way through. I just realized I said I had prizes for people that ask questions, and I haven't been giving any of them. So maybe we'll go into the quiz section after, and I'll just ask questions and give it that way.
Touching on what he just asked about. So this is a company that has multiple products. What about a software agency? So just a different variation of the question.
Yeah.
I'm a product owner, a product manager that works with outsourced clients, and each of them have their own product, their own idea. How do I get them in the headspace to accept a product-led growth model instead of whatever model they're approaching me with.
So when you say that each of those customers have a product, is that a product that you're building for them, or is
Yeah.
that their product?
Yeah, I'm building something for them from
Okay.
scratch. Yeah.
I mean, I think that is actually unique in that you can, like, usually my answer to the agency question is usually it's not a good fit, because you're really driving someone else's, bottom line, and they then need to be product led and drive product led growth. And in the agency model, you're consulting, right? You're being brought in, you need to go through that motion. It's very different go to market than, let's say, a SaaS business like Jira and Slack. But if you are fully owning their product and continuously owning it, there might actually be, that's a pretty unique thing. I haven't heard that before, and maybe it's possible. Totally.
One of your early slides says, I am not condoning enterprise sales.
Mhm.
Okay, so I thought that was a typo, but because I thought you were saying the opposite, but no, okay. If you are a software company with 8 clients that are huge,
Sure.
earn you a lot of money,
Yeah.
and you want to do product-led growth
Yeah.
or something here to impress them and get them further and to buy more and so on, are there routes, or does it all have to be the volume business and the data analysis of thousands of users?
The big question is, if you're 8 customers, why do you want to be product led?
No, I don't know. I'm asking. Does it?
So the big question I think that has to be asked from the get-go is, does it make sense to be product led? It's not yes to every company, in my opinion. And that might be, is that controversial? I don't know. But yeah, I think that's a big question. One of my first companies, I see an ex-colleague there, we were at a company where we served 4 or 5 clients, only 4 or 5. One of those clients ended up buying us out. And that was Staples. Staples bought us out. That's a model and company where I would probably never try to put this stuff in. Yeah. I think you have to ask that question, right? Instead of just using the buzz term of, product led and PLG and, all that. You gotta be real with your founders. That's that first thing, have that conversation with your founder or exec team of where do we want to go? What do we want to be? What valuation do you want from your company? These are big questions that have to be answered before you do any of this stuff, in my opinion. Was that too controversial? I don't know.
Hello. How do you wean off the whale, or the mentality of we just have to keep going and find the next whale?
Whoa, that's a good one. That's a good one. It's a hard one, especially if that mentality is bringing incremental revenue every so often to help you out. Like, we're missing our targets. Okay, go chase that whale. We got a whale. Sweet. That takes time. But the best thing I would say is start small and showcase that you're growing. Like, that's the biggest thing. Again, I'll use Vimeo as the example, mostly because I don't want to use Hootsuite as the example, but we're very similar. Vimeo has this example where they kept on playing against each other in their profit and loss statements, the sales side, the whale side, let's call it, versus the product-led growth side. And at one point, I remember during the pandemic, the product-led growth side grew by $89 million and surpassed the sales-led side completely. Well, last year, the sales-led side grew by 60 million. And so they keep playing with each other, which is cool competition, to be honest with you. But I think, in that pill of we need more revenue and chasing the whale, if you can't sustain and show sustainably that you can grow on just the self-serve side, then I think some hard truths have to come in, kind of similar to what I was saying. Yeah, of is it the right model or not? Maybe we'll go one more question and then quizzes, because I do not have this many prizes. You're getting a workout. Yeah, it's good. You want to yell it out?
Well, yeah. So adding to that, that's where value for acquisition cost comes into play, right?
Totally.
The other thing should I use this or should I not? The other thing that I wanted to ask you, one of your my preferred post of you was talking about the rule of 40, and I know as PMs we rarely talk about this, and it comes a lot with the financials that we should be talking about.
Yeah.
And could you dive deeper into rule of 40 and how do you use it to gauge the product growth?
Yeah, I mean, rule of 40, trying to see what I can say and what I can't say, but rule of 40, for those that don't know, it's a it's a profitability measure. It's a gross margin measure that a lot of folks will use. And it can be used for product. I think product managers should be thinking about it. I would say it's probably a tier above that your exec team should be really setting where you are, but really outweighing and understanding, total growth versus, the retention factor of what you're going to focus on is really important in the rule of 40. And I think that's just that usually gets set by your executive team based on where you need to get to and hitting that number. There's been some actually pushback on that number recently as we kind of come off this crazy macroeconomics that are going on right now, and some folks kind of removing that as a model. So I'll post about it actually more on LinkedIn, and yeah, it's cool. Let's I don't know, maybe we'll just give some prizes away quickly. So let's ask some questions. Sorry, I'm going all over the place here. What does PLG stand for? Yeah, who wants to define it though? And raise your hands because I don't have 1,000 or 400 gifts here. Oh yeah, well, I should show what the prize is first, right? I've never done this before. It's on conference, everything goes. It's on conference, yeah. Okay, I've got a Microsoft Bluetooth branded speaker. So who wants to truly define what is product-led growth? It's a Microsoft branded Bluetooth. Go for it. Love it. It's all yours, buddy. All yours. What was the next one they had? Can't remember. Oh, here. What is product-led sales? What's the definition? What's the? Oh, it all depends on that, hey? All right. What do I have? Let's see. It's a Google Cloud Moleskine notebook. They're pretty good notebooks, aren't they? It's got Google Cloud on it. So if you're a Google fan, there you go. You're not gonna answer now? You're like, no, I don't want the Google Cloud crap. Do I have to package these together for people to answer? Go for it. I don't know where that was. Go for it. That's product-led growth. Product-led sales is a little different. Go for it.
Like centering sales around product and making, like getting qualified leads through sales.
Yeah, I would just answer product qualified leads, but that's totally it. And do I throw this up to you? Oh, it'll be here for you. I don't know. I don't even think okay. What does LTV to CAC mean? This is the one that I really want someone to answer. I'm going to give 2 prizes for this one. I don't know who I saw first. It's definitely, okay, go for it. And what, can you define what customer acquisition cost is? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'll take it. Well done. I don't know what this one was. I didn't even tell you what you were gonna get, but you'll get 2. I think they even come together. So here, I don't know what it is. So this is a UV sanitizer for your phone by some company, and then this is something else. I don't know. Here you go. All right, I have one last one. It's this optimizely bag. So I don't have a question for it. Do you have a question? Who? It's the actual backpack. So, but I don't have a question. That's my problem. I brought too many gifts. Do you have a question?
What year was the first product camp?
Oh, nice.
Says the guy who was there.
It's all yours, man. All right, thanks everyone. Appreciate it. It was fun.